Hi students, welcome to Vidyaguru's YouTube channel, and in today's session we will talk about surds and indices. So there will be a lot of shortcuts and tricks that we will learn today. So make sure you watch the video till the end, because if you don't watch it till the end you may miss out on a certain type of questions, and our objective is going to be to learn the methods, the tricks that will help us solve the questions within 5 seconds. That's the idea, that's the objective. And as you can understand, this session is an English medium. So if you're not very comfortable with the pure English medium version, then you can look at the bilingual version which is given in the playlist. So this session is primarily for those students who have difficulty understanding Hindi, primarily the ones who are from South India, the ones who are from northeast of the country. So let's get started and look at the first question. Square root of 3. Within that square root of 3 and within that there is a square root of 3. This series continues till infinity. So when such a series is there, under root of n, basically this is what? Under root of n into under root of n into under root of n, this goes on till infinity. Then what happens? Students, in such a scenario, the direct answer, the direct shortcut is that this expression will turn out to be equal to the same number. The value of this expression will be equal to the same number. So in this case, the n, the number is 3. So the answer will be 3. As simple as that. Out here, as I told you, the number is 3. So the answer turns out to be 3. If in place of 3, students, if in place of 3 it was some other number, let's say it was 12, then in that case the answer would have been 12. It has to be the same number. So that is the first trick. Perhaps you even know about this one. But now when you don't have a series, now understand what is the difference. Now when you don't have a series till infinity, square root of 11 into square root of 11 into square root of 11, this has been given to repeat for 5 times. This is getting repeated for 5 times. It does not go on till infinity. So now how do you go about solving such a question? First of all, I'll tell you what the traditional method is. I will give you a brief idea of what the traditional method is, because the shortcut comes in from the traditional method only. So the square root that you can see, can be removed. The square roots can be removed only when you square this expression. So in the traditional method, what do? We assume this expression to be x. And then what we do is keep on squaring both sides. And why both sides? Because we need to do away with the square root. So you keep on squaring both sides, and for how many times? For how many times will you have to square? For 5 times. Because you have 5 under roots. Please understand, you have 5 under roots. So you will have to go on squaring for 5 times, and it is going to take a lot of time. And this approach is not advisable for the competitive exams. I will give you a simple shortcut, a very useful short trick. Let's see, the number out here is 11. So the 11 stays. And then we will give this 11 its right power. 11 will be given its right power. And how do you write the power? What is the right power going to be? 11 raised to power 2 raised to power n minus 1 divided by 2 raised to power n. That is how it should be. And what is n? N is the number of times this expression is getting repeated. We know that n out here is 5. N out here is 5 because the expression is getting repeated 5 times. So that is the general shortcut. So you will take the same number. In this case the number is 11, and then that number will be raised to what power? 2 raised to power n minus 1 divided by 2 raised to power n. So in this case the answer will turn out to be 11 raised to power what? 2 raised to power 5 minus 1 divided by 2 raised to power 5. 2 raised to power n minus 1 upon 2 raised to power n. And students, what is 2 raised to power 5? We know that 2 raised to power 5 is nothing but 32. So the numerator of this power will become 31. 32 minus 1, 31, and the denominator will be 32. So the final answer turns out to be 11 raised to power 31 by 32. That is the answer, as you can see. And please memorize this result. Please memorize this shortcut. If you have been given such an expression, then it has to be the number raised to power 2 raised to power n minus 1 divided by 2 raised to power n, the general shortcut. Now there is a different variety altogether. The series is getting repeated till infinity. Square root of 72 plus square root of 72 plus square root of 72. The series gets repeated till infinity. But now you can see the sign is a positive sign, a plus sign. There is a plus sign between these square roots. So how do you go about solving these questions when the square roots are getting added? Now one look at the question and I know the answer is 9. I can straight away mark the answer, which is option A. The answer is 9. Now how did I get to know about it? What is the shortcut? So if you have such an expression, now listen to me carefully. The number has to be looked at very closely. The number is 72. 72 is getting repeated. And now if that number can be written as, now we will have to write this number 72 out here as a product of, listen to me carefully, as a product of two consecutive numbers. So 72 is a product of what? Which two consecutive numbers? 8 into 9. So I have written 72 as 8 into 9. We have to look at 72 as a product of consecutive numbers. 72 can also be written as 36 into 2. 36 into 2 is also 72, but this will not solve our purpose. This will not solve our purpose because this number has to be broken down into a product of consecutive numbers. Consecutive numbers have a gap of only 1. So between 8 and 9, the gap is only 1. And now between these two numbers, 8 and 9, the answer will be the bigger number. The answer will be the bigger number. So in this case, the bigger number is what? The bigger number is 9. That's why the answer is 9. So I hope you have understood the method. If a positive sign is there and the number can be expressed as a product of two consecutive numbers, then when the plus sign is there, you have to choose the bigger number. The bigger number was 9. Now what happens, students, what happens if the sign is negative? If the sign is negative, if subtraction is going on rather than addition, then how would you go about it? Again the same thing, square root of 90 minus square root of 90 minus square root of 90. The series goes on till infinity. If such a scenario is there, again, I will write 90 as a product of two consecutive numbers. And what are those numbers? 9 into 10. 90 has been written as 9 into 10. Of course, students, 15 into 6 is also 90. 15 into 6 is also 90, but these are not consecutive numbers. I have written 90 as 9 into 10. And when the sign is negative, listen to me carefully. When the sign is negative, then you have to choose the smaller number. When the sign was positive, we chose the bigger number. When the sign is negative, as you can see out here, when the sign is negative, you choose the smaller number, and the smaller number is 9. So the answer is 9. The final answer to this complicated looking question is 9. Look at the shortcuts. These are really helping us save time. If you know the method, you can just look at the number, you can look at the question and mark 9 as the answer. Now let's look at the next question. It seems that we have read it already. We have done a question like that, but look at it carefully. It is a different type because students, 17, look at the number 17. It cannot be, students, it cannot be expressed as a product of consecutive numbers. 17 cannot be written as a multiplication as a product of consecutive numbers. It cannot be expressed like that. So if the number is such that it cannot be expressed as a product of consecutive numbers, then what do? Then you will have to in the traditional method. In the traditional method, you will have to again assume this as x, which we used to do back in school, and then we used to square both sides. And now there will be an additional difficulty. What is that? Finally, you will have a quadratic equation. Finally, you will have a quadratic equation which needs to be solved. So if you go by the traditional method and you form a quadratic equation, that is going to take you a lot of time. But now I'm going to teach you a very useful and time saving short trick. What is that? Straight away, the answer can be straight away written as, the answer to this expression will be square root of. Now listen to me very carefully. The number out here is 17. Let's say the number is a, because I'm going to give you a general shortcut. Let's say the number is a. So the shortcut will be what? The shortcut will be, within square root you have to write 4a plus 1. Within square root you have to write 4a plus 1, and then 1 has to be added. Then 1 has to be added outside the square root. Please note carefully. This one, the other one is getting added outside the square root. And this entire thing is going to get divided by 2. This entire thing is getting divided by 2. This is the general shortcut. You must definitely note it, because such a question is quite often there in the exam. So now let's solve it. A out here, as you can see, is 17. So the direct answer, the answer to this question will be what? 4 into 17. 4a becomes 4 into 17 plus 1. This expression is within the square root. Plus 1 gets added outside the square root. This whole thing is getting divided by 2. So 17 4s are 68. 17 4s are 68. 68 plus 1, it becomes 69. So within the square root, it becomes 69. Square root of 69. Of course, this 1 is getting added outside the square root, divided by 2. So final answer, students, turns out to be square root of 69 plus 1. Square root of 69 plus 1 divided by 2. And make sure you make a note of this particular shortcut, this direct result that I have given you, because you just cannot afford to make a quadratic equation in the exam. That will be very time consuming. Now the sign out here, students, the sign out here was a positive sign. The sign out here, as you can see, is a positive sign. What if the sign is negative? What if the sign is negative? As you can see out here, square root of 13 minus square root of 13 minus square root of 13, the series goes on till infinity. But the sign is a negative sign. Then what will you do? Again, 13 cannot be expressed as a product of consecutive numbers. It is not possible. So we will use a similar shortcut what we have learned just now. The shortcut will be square root of 4a plus 1. The expression inside the square root remains the same, but now the 1 outside will get subtracted. There will be a negative sign. Please look at the negative sign out here. Out here I have used a negative sign. The 1 outside the square root will get subtracted, and this whole thing will get divided by 2. Note this shortcut. And out here a is equal to 13. The number getting repeated is 13. So what will it turn out to be? Square root of 4 into 13. A is equal to 13 plus 1, and then the 1 outside will get subtracted. The whole thing will get divided by 2. The denominator will be 2. So it turns out to be 13 4s are 52. 13 4s are 52. 52 plus 1, it becomes the square root of 53. Square root of 53 minus 1. Since the sign was negative in our question, square root of 13 minus square root of 13, that is why we have a negative out here. So square root of 53 minus 1 divided by 2. That is the answer to this question. Students, you must have observed that till now in all our questions, there was a square root. There was a square root. Now what if? Rather than the second power, square root was the second power, rather than the second power, we have the third power. Third power, that means the cube root. That means the cube root is there. That means instead of the square root, we have a higher power, we have a third power. Now what will be the answer to this expression? Of course, cube root of 36, cube root of 36, cube root of 36, it is going on till infinity. Then in that case, I will tell you a very interesting shortcut. In such a case, what you need to do, when the power exceeds when the power exceeds 2, when the power is greater than the second power, out here if the power is the third power, then how do you write the answer? What is the shortcut? You have to keep the number constant. The number 36 will remain as it is, but the result, the answer will be square root of 36, because the power, now listen to me carefully, the power will have to be reduced by 1. It was the third power in the question, so in the answer we will subtract 1, we will decrease it by 1, and it will be the second power. Second power means the square root, and the number will be as it is. So decrease the power by 1, make the third power the second power, and the number remains the same. So square root of 36 will be nothing but 6. It is that simple. Of course, if you know this shortcut, you can very easily just look at the question and say square root of 36. The answer will be square root of 36, and square root of 36 is nothing but 6. Now look at the last example for today's session. And out here, this is the fourth power. This is the fourth power of 343. So fourth power of 343 into fourth power of 343 into fourth power of 343. This series goes on till infinity. And I've told you, if rather than the second power, if we have a power greater than the second power, then what is the shortcut? You will decrease. Students, you will decrease the power by 1. From the fourth power, when you decrease, it will become the third power. From the fourth power, when you decrease it, when you subtract 1, it will be the third power. So fourth power becomes the third power. The number is as it is. So the answer will be cube root of 343. And cube root of 343 is nothing but 7. Students, cube root of 343 is nothing but 7, because we know 343. Students, 343 is nothing but 7 cube. Please understand that. 343 is nothing but 7 cube. So 7 cube is raised to power 1 by 3. 7 cube is inside and it is raised to power 1 by 3. So 7 cube into 1 by 3. Cube root means 1 by 3. So 3 and 3 get cancelled. The answer turns out to be 7. The answer turns out to be 7. It becomes that easy. So with that, we will wind up our session today. I hope you have looked at all these shortcuts and tricks. If you have liked the session, please press the like button, share the video with your friends, and make sure you subscribe to our channel for sure. And the numbers. Students, the numbers are given on your screen. If you want to sign up for the complete syllabus, if you want to be dedicated Vidya Guru student, if you want to avail of the complete syllabus, if you want to study from us, then you can call upon these numbers and join our complete online course, Pendrive course, which will help you prepare for the upcoming entrance exams. With that, I'll take your leave. Thank you so much.